Away from Oyo State to the nation's capital, where professors at the University of Abuja are worried over the recent appointment of Professor Aisha Maikudi as the Vice-Chancellor. They allege that the Governing Council did not follow the requisite laws and procedures for appointing a Vice-Chancellor in Nigeria. Maria Mohammed has more.
The appointment of Aisha Maikudi as the Vice-Chancellor was announced on the 31st December 2024. It caused a division between members of the institution's governing council and some members of academic staff. This led to certain members shunning meetings convened by the council in protest against the appointment. Some professors who are not happy with this appointment have come to the Ministry of Education for a peaceful protest over the matter. These professors explained the process of selection, which they say was not followed in the appointment.
87 contestants, but the magic that happened in University of Abuja is that the council chairman was able to reduce that 87 in how many days to God knows when, and he gave interview notice to those they selected mysteriously, and a day on a Sunday for them to come on the Sunday evening, interview on Monday morning, and 80% of those who are invited rejected that either the notice was inadequate or the process was flawed. He went ahead to interview maybe about 4 people and declare what to declare. The brazenness is just too much, as if we're in a banana republic. That's what we're protesting.
This is the first time we have seen that members, external members of the council sent by government, we are not at a meeting, and the Vice-Chancellor is appointed and announced. It goes to support what we were reacting against, that there were serious manipulations, violations, contradictions, aberrations to law, which we saw. And the two of us, myself, Professor Udoza and Professor Waziri, when we got to the selection board, we said, sir, this is not what we know. This does not happen in any other university.
These professors want the federal government to review the appointment of Professor Aisha Maikudi and ensure due process is allowed.
With these protests, the professors are optimistic that the federal government will come to their aid. But the question is, how will this internal conflict be resolved, and what impact will the conflict have on the institution's future? Maria Mohammed, TVC News, Abuja.
Joining us live for more on this development is Professor Sani Mashi from the University of Abuja. He's actually one of the contestants and one of the protesters. Prof, it's good to have you join us on TVC News at 7. What exactly are the concerns about the appointment of Professor Maikudi as Vice-Chancellor, and which procedures really were not followed?
Thank you very much for the question. You see, what we are saying, the issue is not that of Aisha Maikudi as a person. We are talking of a process that needs to be followed. And if the process is not followed, then it means something is fundamentally wrong.
When you talk about process,
the idea here now is law is meant to guide the way things are done in the country. And if laws are made and they are not followed, then it means we can say the country is as good as finished.
So what is the ideal
Mr.
process?
The President has demonstrated clearly since he came on board that he rules by the law. And therefore, all issues, once if they are against the law, he will not put his hands on. So what we are now saying here now, the concern is the law recognizes that certain process must be followed. And in University of Abuja, these processes were not followed or were irregularly followed. And if you allow that to stand, then it means there are over 100 other universities in Nigeria. It means those other governing councils, they are going to use Abuja as a yardstick in order to emulate what has happened. The concern here now is, if you have structures that make up the institution, and these structures are meant in order to put in place in order to guide the management of the university. And because you have now vested interest, you decide to emasculate these structures, to manipulate the process in order to produce someone that you feel, for whatever reasons, that you want to favor that particular individual. When you are doing this, you are not just emasculating the other contestants. You are emasculating that particular institutions. What we are saying, we are talking of 87 candidates. And processes are supposed to be followed so that you can now screen those candidates, examine them, interview them, and eventually decide on those that are supposed to be considered for appointment, 3 of them by the governing council as provided by the law.
All right,
These
Prof.
processes have not been followed.
I
so
hear
that
you,
is
Prof.
a problem. That's a major concern.
All right, then. But then
okay.
there are
what
reports. Yes, Prof, I heard your explanation of what you believe to be the due process that was not followed. But as it stands, there are reports of some academics shunning meetings convened by the governing council. Is that not dereliction of duty which should attract some level of disciplinary action?
No, certainly not. You see, the fact of the matter here now is that if the law, ignorance of law is not an excuse. If laws are there and you are supposed to follow the law, you can't just go and follow the law that has been disobeyed. If at the end of the day you are caught, you can't say it is Mr. A or Mr. B that told me to disobey the law. These academics have been told to follow certain processes. They have applied. Their applications are supposed to be subjected to some legal processes. These processes have not been followed. And therefore, you are now told to come. Even though the laws have not been followed, come and be interviewed. I think it's improper. If you go as the person that is invited, if you go, then it means you have run foul of the law. And it's safer for you not to run foul of the law, so that tomorrow, if questions arise, you can say, I decide not to obey because the law was not actually followed. The council need to have followed the law. And because they have not followed the law, then it means definitely they have created the situation that they found themselves in.
All right, Prof.
The matter.
Okay, and earlier today, we know that you and some other professors went on a peaceful protest to the Ministry of Education. What feedback did you get?
You see, the fact of the matter here now is Mr. President is the visitor to the university. We went to the ministry so that we can now send our message to Mr. President through the Minister of Education. Mr. President, we catalogued all the abuses that were committed by the governing council of the infringement of the law. The shameful acts that were committed, we catalogued them, and we now went and presented a letter to the Honorable Minister. We are reasonable and responsible Nigerians. That's why we went on a peaceful protest. We delivered the letter. We sent our message to Mr. President, to the Honorable Minister. And we expect that the Honorable Minister, who is a firm believer in the due processes and law, because we look at how he effectively handled the maladministration, the disobedience of the law, manipulation of the laws that happened at Federal Azikiwe University, Oka. So we believe that the Honorable Minister will, in the manner in which we know him, consistent manner in which we know him obeying the law, will definitely make appropriate recommendation to Mr. President so that action will be taken by Mr. President. And we are very optimistic, positive result will come out of it.
All right, Professor Sani Mashi, I would have loved to ask you what you would do if the ministry sticks to its guns to retain Professor Maikudi as the Vice-Chancellor.
You see, the fact of the matter, we are very optimistic. Mr. President respects the law. The Honorable Minister of Education believes in the law. So when they did it at Azikiwe University, they took their case to the minister and they requested his intervention. Mr. President, when they presented their fact and the Honorable looked at it and then actions were taken.
It's a good way to leave the conversation, Prof. Professor Sani Mashi from the University of Abuja, thank you so much for your time on TVC News at 7.
Thank you very much and nice to have you.